Huh? What are you doing in my swamp?
Hello everybody, this is Ogre Boy. I'm going to be doing my review for the new movie, Spider-Man No Way Home. This is going to be my spoiler review. I did a spoiler-free review a couple weeks ago when the movie first came out and everything, and I thought I'd go ahead and do my spoiler review now that it's been out for a while and stuff, because I didn't want to ruin it for anybody who hadn't seen it when it first came out. So I'm going to talk about a lot of the stuff that goes on in this movie in this video, so if you haven't seen it, I'd recommend just checking out the spoiler-free video, unless you don't care about spoilers. And more than likely, you'll probably have seen spoilers by now, because there had been a lot of leaks and stuff before the movie even came out and everything. I'd known a few little spoilers, but I'm going to go ahead and get into it. So this movie picks up right where Spider-Man Far From Home left off, where Peter and MJ are in the middle of Times Square, and J. Jonah Jameson is doing a news report, and he shows footage of Mysterio giving away Peter's identity as Spider-Man, and it really showcases like how his life is affected by this announcement and everything. Like, a lot of people think he's a murderer and stuff, and he ends up having to go to court and stuff and everything, and he ends up getting it where he's proven innocent and stuff, thanks to Matt Murdock, who everybody knows as Daredevil. He's played by Charlie Cox, who played him in the show, which I haven't seen yet. I'm actually probably going to start watching that show pretty soon, because I need to catch up on it since I've never seen it, and they finally brought him into the MCU. I know a lot of people were excited about that, and the crowd went wild when they showed him, and he's only in here for a couple minutes and everything. They don't really show the court scenes and stuff, which I kind of wish they would have. I know they didn't really have to and need to because of the running time. They wanted to cut the running time, but I kind of would have liked to see the court and stuff. But it was cool getting to see this new version of Matt Murdock I had never seen before, and I think Charlie Cox seems to be a pretty cool guy, so hopefully he'll do a good job and everything. Like I said, I'm gonna watch the show sometime, and I might review it when I watch it. But anyway, so as time goes on, Peter, Ned, and MJ are planning on going to college together, and they're wanting to go to MIT, but none of them are accepted because of Spider-Man, and Ned and MJ aren't accepted because of being associated with him and everything, because of the controversy and stuff to his name. So Peter goes to Doctor Strange to try to make everybody forget that he's Spider-Man, and ends up messing up the spell and everything, and it brings in the multiverse of villains from other universes where that knew Peter Parker was Spider-Man. So you get Green Goblin from Doc Ock and Sandman from the Raimi movies, and then you get Lizard and Electro from the Amazing Spider-Man movies, and they're all played by their same actors and stuff too, which is really cool, and everything. And when Peter is going to talk to this lady about getting into MIT and stuff, trying to help MJ and Ned at least get in, even if he can't, Doc Ock attacks the bridge that they're on there, like on this highway bridge, and he ends up fighting Doc Ock and saving this lady and stuff, and she says that she was going to put in a good word for him and stuff to go to MIT and everything before she gets away and everything. And right after their fight is done and everything, Doc Ock realizes that Peter isn't the same Peter from his universe, and the nanotech in Peter's suit is able to take control of Octavius's tentacles and stuff, so that he can control the tentacles and keep Octavius from hurting him anymore and stuff, and they Doctor Strange pulls them into this prison thing right as Green Goblin is showing up, and everything in there, like in this underground lair in Doctor Strange's house. I know they mention what it's called, and I just cannot remember what it's called, but he had already captured, Doctor Strange had already captured the lizard, so he sends Peter, Ned, and MJ to find the other villains and stuff, except Peter goes by himself. Ned and MJ are kind of there on the computer to help him keep an eye out and stuff, and like he has his phone strapped to his chest, and he ends up finding the Sandman and Electro. And at first Electro is blue for a few minutes, and then he ends up looking like Jamie Foxx, and not like he did in The Amazing Spider-Man 2. He looks just like regular Jamie Foxx, which, to be honest, didn't really bother me. I thought it was kind of weird that they made him look a little different, but at the same time, I kind of like the makeover, and I think it just fits him better and everything. But and the Sandman is CGI throughout most of the whole movie. He's made of sand throughout the whole movie, which the CGI on him doesn't look that bad. I mean, compared to the CGI on the Lizard, I think the Lizard looked even worse in this movie than he did in the Amazing Spider-Man. The CGI was just a lot worse on him, but Sandman still looked pretty good. He didn't look a lot different than he did when he was CGI in Spider-Man 3, so it didn't bother me quite as bad. Maybe it just was easier to do the textures on him. I don't know, but then Peter goes to the homeless place that Aunt May is running and stuff that you see at the end of The Amazing Spider-Man, Spider-Man Far From Home, and he finds Norman Osborn, who has come back to his senses and is Norman for right now. He's not the Goblin, because he has the two personalities and everything, and it's really cool. We get to see that other side of Norman where he's good and everything, and he's asking Peter and Aunt May for help, and they take him back to the sanctum and down to the little cave thingy, and Doctor Strange shows up and imprisons him and is planning on sending them all back and everything, but it's right after Peter, MJ, and Ned find out that all these characters die in their universes except for Sandman and Lizard, although they don't really say that Lizard doesn't die. He doesn't know if he dies or not, so I'm guessing that he was obviously brought in before he got changed back at the end of the movie. So Doctor Strange and Peter have this big fight and stuff because of it, and Peter's wanting to stop them and stop it so he can help them and cure them before they get sent back and stuff, so that maybe they have a chance at a new life and everything. And he ends up trapping Doctor Strange in this little world over the Grand Canyon and stuff for hours. But anyway, he gets back, and the villains go to Aunt May's house and stuff, and he's working on the cures and stuff, and he gets Doc Ock fixed up, and he starts to get Electro fixed up and everything, and they're working on goblins, and Goblin shows back up inside of Norman, of course, and goes crazy again, and he tricks Electro into helping him, and all the villains end up leaving Aunt May's house, except for, of course, Goblin is still fighting with Peter and everything, and in the midst of it, Aunt May is almost out of the building and stuff, and she sees the Goblin attacking Peter, and she's trying to help him, and the Goblin's glider flies into Aunt May and knocks her flying, and the Goblin then throws a pumpkin bomb at her, but Peter is able to make it dodge it, and you think that Aunt May's going to be okay, and it turns out that when that glider hit her, it really messed her up. It didn't really show a wound or anything, but like Peter like feels a part of her, and he has blood on his fingers and stuff, and she gives this really good speech of the "with great power comes great responsibility" speech that she does, or that you get in most of the Spider-Mans that has been missing throughout this trilogy and everything. And then she dies and everything. She doesn't even realize she's hurt, which I don't know how she didn't, but I guess she was in shock and everything because of and still trying to comprehend everything that's going on, and she dies, and it is a really heartbreaking scene when she dies. Like Peter is just heartbroken, and it is so sad watching her die in his arms. And then you see Happy pull up, and you see his reaction to Peter holding Aunt May's body and stuff. And Jon Favreau's performance in that scene is amazing too. Both of them gave excellent performances in that scene. It was very, very heartbreaking to see Aunt May die and everything. And then we get the highlight of the entire movie. It goes to MJ and Ned. They're trying to get a hold of Peter because they know Aunt May's dead, and they can't get a hold of him. They don't know where he is and everything. And Ned has this ring thing that Peter took from Doctor Strange to open portals, and he's trying to open a portal to find Peter. And that's when Andrew Garfield's Peter Parker walks in. And when he walked in, both times that I saw it on opening night, the crowd went wild and everything. It was awesome getting to see him walk in through that portal. And Andrew Garfield is excellent in this movie. And then I think he is even better in this movie, which shows that if you have better writing and stuff, he can be a really good Spider-Man, and he was a lot of fun to watch in this movie. And then Ned opens a second portal, and the King of Spider-Man walks in, Tobey Maguire. And when Andrew walked in, he's all shocked and stuff that he's in, that he came through a portal and stuff like that, and he's all shocked. Tobey just seems completely unfazed by it. He just walks in, he waves at them. It's really, really kind of humorous to me. I don't know what it is, but it's just like nothing surprises him. And you get this really cool scene where they're showing off that their web shooting abilities and stuff. And there's some pretty funny moments with Ned's grandma in that scene. And then they find the MCU Peter, and there's a sweet little moment where Ned and MJ go just to comfort him, and all three of them are crying, and they both like have their arms wrapped around him, and it's just very, very good, heartbreaking scene. But Tom Holland's performance in that scene is excellent, but all three of them were great in that scene, and it really, you could feel their friendship in that scene, and it just was very, very well written and well done and everything. I absolutely love that and everything. It was really, really well done. And then you see the other two Peters, and they're kind of just wanting to talk to him. MCU Peter is down, and he just doesn't want to do anything anymore. He wants to get them back home and forget about everything. And they kind of comfort him and kind of tell him that they know what he's going through. Toby's Peter brings up Uncle Ben, and Andrew's Peter talks about Gwen Stacy, which I thought that was kind of weird that he didn't talk about his Uncle Ben too. But I think he had more regret over Gwen Stacy because of the events and like the promise he made to her dad and stuff. I think that was why he. Plus, I mean, it really made that scene emotional though. Like the way he talked about the darkness in him that he had from losing her, and how he wanted to give up for a long time, and he was never the same after her death. I love that. And I personally think that they did a good job in that scene, and Andrew Garfield he gave a really great performance in there and everything, and both of them did. I mean, they were both really great. And then they agree to help Peter finish creating the cures for the other villains so that they can cure them all before they send them back and everything. And it's a nice little scene where they go back to this lab and they're fixing it all up and everything, and Tobey and Andrew have this little conversation. We kind of get some closure on the story for Tobey Maguire's version, because at the end of Spider-Man 3 you don't really know what's going to happen next because they never made the fourth movie, but we do get a little bit of closure on it, which I think is awesome and great, because he talks about like his relationship with MJ, saying that they had a complicated relationship and everything, but they're finally doing really good, and I love that we kind of at least got a little bit of closure on that. And we find out that Andrew's Spider-Man hasn't really started to date again and everything. He's just busy being Spider-Man. He doesn't really take time to do anything for himself in his personal life, which I think is also kind of cool. It's kind of a Spider-Man thing and everything, so I did like that. And, then once they get the cures ready and everything, they go and get ready to fight these villains. Max is not wanting to leave this universe because he feels more powerful than he did in the one from the Amazing Spider-Man movies, so he's trying to keep it from happening. Sandman wants to go back because he wants to go with his daughter, which kind of gives closure on that storyline too, because that means his daughter didn't die and everything. So unless he came like not long after Spider-Man 3 and everything, so but either way she's still alive and everything. And it's indicated that it is after Spider-Man 3 though, because he recognized Peter Parker at the beginning of the movie when he first showed up and everything, but before he found out that it wasn't the Peter Parker from his universe. So but they start teaming up and they're having a good fight, and they finally get Electro and Lizard and Sandman all cured and everything, and they barely get Electro because he almost gets them, and which I think is pretty cool though, that like he got a good time to shine as a villain, since Amazing Spider-Man 2 didn't really do him a lot of justice, even though, like I said, I did like him in that one. And Doc Ock shows up and helps them out at the end of it, right before he's about to kill Andrew Garfield's version, and Doc Ock shows up, and at first he's acting like he's still a villain and everything, and then he ends up being the one to cure Max, which is freaking awesome and everything. It was awesome getting to see him team up with them for a few minutes. And then Doctor Strange shows back up and is about to send him back, and and everything, he's about to send them back even though they hadn't got Goblin cured yet, and Goblin shows up and everything, and he does the "Does Spider-Man want to play?" line, and he throws a pumpkin bomb, and it blows up the little box thing that they were going to use to send everybody back, and is starting to make the multiverse collide and stuff, and other villains and stuff are about to start arriving and everything, and Peter and Goblin have this big fight and everything. But when the pumpkin bomb blows up, that's when we see the scene from the trailer where MJ is starting to fall from the Statue of Liberty, because that's where they're at, and they're reconstructing it, and she starts to fall, and Andrew Garfield, Spider-Man, saves her, and the crowd went wild in that scene. Like, it was just really, really great scene and everything. And he's like, after he saves her, he's like, "Are you okay?" And she says yes, and he starts to cry, and it's really, really just a really great emotional scene. Like he feels like he kind of redeemed himself. It seems like it was a good little redemption for him and everything. That little scene is like half a cry, half smile. Like, he's really, proud of himself, and it's just really, really great acting from Andrew Garfield. He did a really great job in this movie, and that scene is one of the highlights and everything. Probably his standout scene in the movie. But then Peter and the Goblin have this big fight, and Peter almost kills him. MCU Peter almost kills him. Toby's Peter ends up stopping him and everything, and like reminds him, we don't kill people and everything. He stops him just in time, and Norman stabs Toby's Peter in the back, but he doesn't die. He's like, I thought he was gonna die and everything. Yeah, I remember the entire crowd, they were like, holy crap and everything. I know a few people even yelled out, no! But it turned out that he didn't die. He was hurt and stuff, but he didn't die. He's like, I've been stabbed before and everything, I'll be okay. Which is kind of weird, but I mean, these characters are pretty strong. They can survive stuff like that, I guess. But Peter ends up going to Strange and telling him that he can just go ahead and make it where everybody forgets him, so because that's the only way to stop all the people from coming into and making the multiverse collapse and stuff. So that's pretty much how the movie ends. He goes and says goodbye to the other Spider-Men and says bye to Ned and MJ, and it's really an emotional scene, them all saying goodbye and everything. Like they play it up more with MJ, but I actually think the stuff with Ned was sadder because we've seen how good of friends they were and everything. I felt like they did a good job with that scene though and everything, and they made it. And even when he said goodbye to Doctor Strange and stuff, it was really, really emotional. And Benedict Cumberbatch's performance is really great in here too and everything. And the whole ending is just, it's really, really not a happy ending, which is something normal for other Spider-Man movies. I mean, The Amazing Spider-Man 2 didn't really have that happy of an ending, and really the Raimi trilogy, 2 of the 3 movies didn't really. I mean, the first Spider-Man, he had said no to MJ. Harry was wanting revenge on Spider-Man, so it kind of had a somber tone as well. And then Spider-Man 3 kind of left off on a somber tone. So and this one does too, and everything. And then you see all the villains and the 2 Spider-Men return to their universe. You don't really see them going into them, but you just like see them disappear and everything. And Ned and MJ have forgotten Peter, and he's trying to learn how to move on. And he goes to visit Aunt May's grave, and Happy shows up, and Happy's forgotten him too and everything. I thought at first maybe Happy would remember him, but it ended up being he didn't. And then Peter moves into the old apartment that him and Aunt May lived in. I'm pretty sure it's the old apartment. And we see that he makes his own new suit, which is the best looking suit Tom Holland's Spider-Man has ever had. It looks really, really awesome. I absolutely love this suit, and that's one of the reasons I can't wait to see what they do with him more and everything, because he comes into his own in this movie. Like a lot of people criticize the other movies because Tom Holland's Spider-Man relies so much on Tony Stark and stuff. In this movie, he really comes in on his own and everything. And I can't wait to see what they do with another trilogy and how different it's going to be and everything. He's going to be more like a traditional Spider-Man, I think. But I can't wait to see what they do with it. And it had a really, really good ending, and there are a couple of credit scenes. The first one's like a mid-credit scene where we see Eddie Brock and Venom are in some bar in Mexico, and like learning all the ropes of the new world they're in and everything, and they're planning on going to New York to find Spider-Man, and they get sent back and everything, which to me that was probably the worst scene in the entire movie. I'm not a big fan of the Venom character anymore. After Venom Let There Be Carnage, I don't really care about Venom anymore. I really don't, and that scene just didn't do anything for me. But we see a little piece of the symbiote was left and everything, so they could set it up where Spider-Man has to fight Venom at some point. I'm not sure how to feel about that, because like I said, I'm not big on the whole Venom stuff anymore, because I wasn't a huge fan of the first Venom movie. I thought it was okay, but Let There Be Carnage was just not very good to me, so I don't really care about that as much anymore. And then the last one is more of a little teaser for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness instead of a full-fledged post-credit scene, but it looks pretty cool. I'm curious to see where they go with it and everything. But I think this is a really, really great movie. And there are a lot of really great moments in here, especially during that third act with Toby and Andrew. I love all of the scenes with them. Like I kind of wish that we'll get a movie where all three Spider-Mans get to be together through the whole movie. That would be so freaking awesome. And I kind of hope that this movie also gets Sony to maybe continue movies with Toby and Andrew. I would love to see them get their own movies again, just to see what goes on. Because I mean, they don't show what happens to the characters after they return to their universes. Do the villains go back to being regular humans? I'm curious to see how it works, and everything. And that's one of the big things about the movie that I wish it would have done, is at least showed what happened to the villains and stuff too. Like when they return to their universe, did they still die? Did they go on and change? If they did, what is Norman's reaction to Harry's death? And yeah, I'm just curious what they would have done with it. And also, I think there was kind of a little bit of a missed opportunity at the end of it when Peter saves Norman and stuff. Like, I wanted to see Norman and Toby's Peter interact. They had no interaction in this movie, and I really wish it would have. Flint and Peter had a little bit of an interaction, and we did get a pretty cool scene where Doc Ock and Toby's Peter have a little interaction, and Andrew Garfield had a little bit with both Dr. Connors and Electro. So I wish that they would have done that with Peter and Goblin. I would have liked to see what the reaction would have been to Norman Osborn if he would have found out that Harry died and stuff. Like I want to know what would have happened. But aside from that, I don't really have a lot of complaints. Also, I kind of wish we would have known what the villains were doing after they left Aunt May's apartment, because they all just kind of disappear until the third act and everything. And I know they needed to be gone to set up the stuff with Toby and Andrew showing up and showing Peter dealing with Aunt May's death and stuff, but I'm just curious what happened to them, like where they went and everything. They don't really say, but that's really my biggest complaints on the movie. Like aside from that, I don't really have any. I mean, I think it's really entertaining. It was everything I really wanted it to be, pretty much. I mean, they did a great job bringing in these characters. They didn't disrespect their origins or undo everything that made those movies great, and everything. And I think it's a really, really entertaining movie, and I love that they stuck true to the characters and stuff. And Doc Ock has this really cool scene when he first becomes good again and stuff, and like he's talking about the voices in his head being gone and stuff. Like, his performance in there is really good and everything, and all of the actors give really excellent performances though, especially Willem Dafoe though, when he's playing Norman, and not just, I mean, you see him go from Norman to the Goblin in the original too, which I think he did even better in that one, because personally I think the writing was just a little bit better on that, but I think it was still excellent in this one. It was like he never left the character. and everything, and he really gave a very good performance in this movie. Like he really did a good job, and I love that, like, the friendship that him and Peter had at the beginning of the movie and stuff. Like, it was really well written and everything. And also he does the line that's kind of become a meme, the I'm something of a scientist myself line, which was just a really awesome callback. And there are a lot of callbacks in this movie that are really cool and everything. It does have a lot of fan service, like you would expect from a movie like this and everything. And as I've said before, fan service doesn't bother me. I know it will some people, but I actually don't really mind it. I think it really did a great job with it. I know everybody I've seen that has seen it has said that fan service is part of what makes this movie so good, and it really is, but it also has a really great story and really big emotions, and they did a really great job with the stakes and stuff in this, and bringing the MCU's Peter into his own character. And I really hope we do get more, because I don't feel like his story is over with yet, and everything. And he really, like I said, Tom Holland gave a very, very good performance in this movie. Like I said, it's his best performance as a character, and everything. And it was great getting to see all the villains back and stuff too, but it was especially great getting to see Tobey Maguire back. Anybody who knows me knows I'm a huge fan of Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, and he's like he was my childhood Spider-Man. So getting to see him back, even though it was only about maybe for 45 minutes to an hour of the movie, it was still excellent getting to see him back for that little bit of time. And the chemistry between all three Spider-Man actors is excellent, and they all three worked really great together, and were legit funny at times. Like there were, especially Andrew Garfield, he really cracked me up, and there was some really funny banter with them about Peter's web shooting and stuff, like him having the organic web shooting and stuff, and like they're like Tom Holland Spider-Man asks him if he can shoot webs out of any other parts of his body and stuff. It's really hilarious scene and everything. And I also love the scene where like they're talking about teamwork, and both of them say they've never really worked on a team and stuff, and Peter's like, I have, and not to brag, but I'm going to anyway, that he's worked with the Avengers and stuff, and Toby's like, the Avengers, that's awesome, what is that? It was just really funny, and the way Toby says it is just perfect. I absolutely love this movie, and it is an excellent movie. So I'd say I'd give Spider-Man No Way Home a 9.5 out of 10. Like I said in my spoiler review, it is a really great movie. Some of the CGI and some of that stuff, like at the end of it, that I told you I wish we would have gotten, kind of takes it down just enough to take it down to 9.5 instead of a 10. But aside from that, I love it. And I also do feel like they cut some stuff, like this movie could have been longer. I think it actually should have been around 3 hours and everything, because it felt like the beginning was a little bit rushed and everything. I would have liked to see a little bit more of what was going on in his school life, although there wasn't really a lot that they could do, but it did feel like there were scenes that were deleted out of it. But yeah, so aside from that, I think this is a really great movie. It's one of the best MCU movies.